Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Sonia Unapologetic. My name is Sonia, and on this channel, we talk about mental wellness and living a free life from a Black woman's perspective. Before we go any further, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and get down the comments to further bring the discussion along. So you see that I have all these beautiful women, some familiar faces here. And we did a conversation 5 months ago about Black American women exiting the US. So now we're going to do something just a tad bit different. We're talking about Black American women returning to the US, reverse culture shock. So I have all these ladies here, and in the description box, their social media, if they have YouTubes, they'll be in the description box. So get down the description box so you'll be able to follow them. And then also the first part 1 video to where we talked about Black women exiting the US. It was a great conversation, lots of engagement from the viewers. So we definitely appreciate that. But that, if you missed it or you want to view it again, it's in the description box as well. So I'm just gonna start with your introductions, and I'm going to start with myself, even though you guys know that I'm Sonia, the Sonia and Sonia Unapologetic. But since the conversation is about coming back to the US, right now I have been in the US, back in the US for maybe 2.5 weeks, I think. And I returned here from Playa del Carmen to where I was there for about 5 months. So that is my small intro as for you guys to know where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna go around to the ladies and have you guys introduce yourselves. You can shout out if you want to shout out your social media or YouTube, but then I guess let everyone know like where you're at right now, and maybe when was the last time you were in the US, or if you're in the US right now, or if you're not in the US, are you going back to the US soon? So I know it's a lot. I'm gonna start with Sondra if you need me to recap.
Nope. Hi, everybody. Sonia, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
My name is Sondra. For those of you that don't know, I am currently in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, where I just love everything about it. The last time I was in the States was about 3 months ago, and it was really interesting. It was my first time back. You can follow me on Instagram at Sunny11111. That's 5 number 1, Sunny1. I don't know. I'm not sure when my next visit back to the States will be, but it'll be a while. It'll be a while.
Okay, and then Lateefah, what about you? Go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where you're at right now.
Hello, I'm Lateefah Fleming. I am in Connecticut, so I'm back in the United States. I have been in Playa del Carmen since December 30th, but I got back to the States. I should say the tri-state area because it's New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. I'm staying in all 3. And I've been here since June 3rd, and I still feel like I just got here. I feel a little fish out of water-ish. Mm-hmm. My social media is EmpowerFit Chick, and that is on Instagram and on YouTube.
Awesome.
I can't wait to talk about that culture shock.
Oh, yeah, we ready. We like get through the introductions. I'm ready. Tara, what about you? Where are you at right now and all that good stuff?
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I just love this forum. I love this community of sisterhood, and I'm so blessed to be a part and amongst you all. My name is Tara, and I am in Delaware. The last time that I was in Playa was on the 8th of July. I spent 2 weeks there. And I currently have no social media outside of YouTube. And I'm going to work on that soon. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here, not excited to be back in the States, and I look forward to learning everyone's experience with their return.
Yeah. then Kayla.
Hey everybody, my name is Kayla. Thank you, Sonia, for inviting me. I moved to Playa del Carmen in January of this year, and I live with Lateefah and Sondra, and Tara is a frequent visitor, so in their same city. I got back to Atlanta last night. And so I've been here for, 24 hours now. Excited to talk about that experience. But I have re-entered the United States one other time this year. I've been in the States probably a total of 5 weeks this year, and we're filming this at the end of July. So I have a lot of experience in and out still of the country. So I'm excited to talk. Oh, my social media is @itskwalker. That's my Instagram.
Okay, then Kimberland.
Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Sonia, for the invite. So I just got back to Mexico City this morning, this afternoon, so about 2 p.m. So I was in the States this morning. I left Mexico in May. I went to DR for about a month or so, and then I was in the States. So I am so excited to be back in Mexico. I am like just feeling amazing and can't wait to talk about it. You all can follow my journey at Minding My Black Ass Business, and that is on Instagram and YouTube.
Awesome. And then Ali.
Hey y'all. Hey ladies, so good to be back with you guys. Thank you again for the invite. I promise this time I won't rush off. Where am I? What am I doing? All right, y'all. So I just co-piloted myself to Placencia, Belize today. I've been in San Pedro for the last couple of weeks. And prior to that, I was a very long, dreary time in Dallas for almost 4 months, and I was itching to leave. So I am, this topic couldn't be any more perfect. The caveat is I actually got to go back to Dallas next week. So pray for me.
We'll
Pray
meet
for
up
me,
for
y'all.
drinks since I'm here. We'll meet up for drinks.
So you guys can follow me on Instagram at where2next_Ali. Or YouTube at Where's Ali, WHERESALI.
Awesome, awesome. And like I said earlier, I'll have everyone's social media YouTubes in the description box. So y'all don't have to be writing them down like, wait a minute, what did they say? Because I'm gonna have it in the description box. But then my air conditioner, I hope it's not too loud here. But okay, what I wanted to talk about, first is the challenges of returning back to the US, physical and mental. And I'll start out with myself. I returned to US, like I said, about 2.5 weeks ago. And it was a little unexpected because I thought that I had about a whole nother month to mentally prepare. But I got a job offer and they were like, hey, within the next 3 days, if you can go ahead and do all the fingerprint and stuff. I'm like, what? 3 days? Like, so I'm throwing stuff in the bags and everything. And I cried a lot to have to leave Playa. But one thing I appreciate is before I left Playa, I had the most amazing experience with Sondra, Tara, Kaylah. We had this amazing experience right before I left. So I think that I went out with a bang. Not that I'm not going back to Playa, but man, I definitely went out with a bang. And I think me and Tara left around within days of each other, if I remember correctly. But that was just so beautiful. But returning to the US, I don't think I'm mentally prepared because I was on a high. I was on a 5-month high of a healing journey in a really great space. And, even though I know that the US is the place of a lot of traumas that I've had, it's like, I was still feeling like, okay, I'm ready to see family, I'm good. And I'm thinking, I can, stay in the US for maybe, 3 months, and then I'll return back to Playa because I want to get everything together. I want to get through my storage. I want to start my job and like really like, dive into my job before I return back to Playa, or just return outside of the US. And being here, I know that no, I need to do what I have to do to get out because it's been mentally tough. It's, the anxiety comes back. And so physically, you feel your heart racing, you feel your chest hurting, your muscles start to hurt. So you physically feel something going on. Another physical thing, I guess I have a lot of food allergies, but when I was in Playa del Carmen, a lot of those food allergy things kind of went away because here I do a lot of clearing of my throat. It's like a lot of things will irritate my throat. And so when I was in Playa, I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, I'm just feeling like I'm not having these food allergy reactions. Here, I'm feeling that again. I'm trying to eat as well as I can. I'm not a cook, y'all. I can cook, I don't like to cook. So that being said, I do a lot of prepared food. But I'm trying to do like some of the healthier places, but still I can hear my stomach processing things, if that makes sense. When I'm, after I've eaten, it's like, I'm like, wow, I can seriously hear my digestive system trying to do the work. And I didn't necessarily feel that way in Playa del Carmen. It was so many just vegan restaurants, so many places to where they're cooking that stuff fresh. And even if you're not a cook, they had so many different options. So that's a difference because physically, you feel a difference with stress, anxiety, and then just health. Because even if you're trying to eat what they're saying is good food, you just don't know, it seems like. And then also I feel like being back here, just little things that I didn't have to worry about walking around Playa. It's like I have to worry about that here. It's like you walk into certain places. It depends on where you're at, but I spent some time in a very small town where my parents, they live in a very small town. And, there were just incidents to where I'm like, wow, this is really weird. Or, I walk in places like the record stop. It's like, why is the record stopping when I walk in? Like, why are y'all all staring at me or whatever? But then also there's a lot of the gaslighting. So it's like, if you talk about like, hey, I went to this place and I felt weird, it's just kind of like, you know what, you always a problem, like really, like, you paranoid. So there's a lot of that, the mind games, to where if something happens to you, it's it's your fault. It's like a lot of things I wonder, like even today going to look at another short-term apartment, I was like, okay, let me look at the apartment first. And yesterday I went and they were like, we only let you do self-guided tours. So sign up online and you'll get the code and you can go and look at the apartment. And I was having trouble. And the lady was like, well, just come back tomorrow because tomorrow we'll do the regular tours. And so that went back today, and the guy was just kind of like, oh, Thursdays are the only day of the week that we do self-guided tours. So we don't do regular tours. I'm like, oh, that's funny because yesterday a lady said Wednesday she couldn't give me a tour. And he's just like, oh, they must have added days. I'm like, okay, is it? And then yesterday, the funniest thing, when they told me to do a self-guided tour, I wasn't able to get the code properly, so I couldn't look at the apartment yesterday. I went back in, I saw another couple, she was walking with them. So I don't know if she was showing them the apartment, an apartment that they had already rented, or I don't know if she was showing them the apartment, but told me she couldn't show me the apartment. You know, it's just a lot of things. It's like you start to feel like, okay, is this happening because I'm Black? Because it was just mighty funny when I went back today. The guy was just like, well, you know, Thursdays are the only days that we do self-guided, so I can't show you the apartment, but you can go online and get the code, and then it'll allow you to get into apartment, see it yourself. I'm like, well, that's funny, because the other day, lady said that Wednesday was the only day. So there's a lot of little things that has happened to where it makes me feel like, what's going on, you know? But then it's like, I can't really say that, because then I'm gaslit, because that means that you came back from Mexico, now you're trouble. You know, you're being negative, you know, everything's not like that. And so it can be a lot of, you know, mental stuff going on to where you're just kind of like, okay, let me just stay myself and not talk to anyone. So I guess I'll let the rest of you, somebody want to raise your hand if you want to talk about the challenges, mental and physical, returning to the US. Anyone want to raise their hand, or y'all want me to kind of, okay, Ali.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Okay, all right. Well, thank you for sharing all of that, Sonia, because I mean, I feel you 159%. Just starting off with that prep part, or mental, getting ready to leave. So when I knew I had to leave, or I knew I needed to leave Thailand, because I didn't really have to, my visa, I still had like another month and a half on my visa. And I wasn't ready to go, like, at all. But I knew I needed to come back and do some adulting back in the States, you know, take care of a few things, and really, really do this if I'm gonna do this, because I had a lot of stress over the last 2 years because of how I left. I just basically left, as we talked about in the last time we got together. And so I kind of wanted to set it up a little bit better. So I was a little stressed about that. But just getting back, I'm going to tell you guys, and I don't know if you guys can attest to this, or our folks who are going to be listening in and watching this after, but y'all, I haven't thought about the police in 2 years. I'm going to tell y'all, when I got to Dallas Love Field and I called that Uber, first of all, I fell asleep and woke up and thought he kidnapped me, because I recognized nothing. And we were like around the corner from my house. They've done so much building out there. I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting abducted the day I got back by an Uber driver. First of all, who does that? Number two, the first thing I did is I started looking around for the police. And when I would see one, I was like, and it was immediate and without even thinking about it. You know how like you naturally tense, or I don't know if y'all do that or not. I'm like, I ain't doing that wrong, but it's like a natural, like, ooh, let me be on my guard. Let me make sure I put my blinker on 200 meters before I get to, you know, and stuff like that. And it hit me. You have not felt that since you were home last, right? So that was the first thing. And then I don't know when the whirlwind started to hit here, because I really haven't been watching the news. I get snippets, but I don't, you know, my parents will send stuff, and I try to avoid all those kinds of conversations. And I'm like, well, you guys don't have to deal with it if you just leave, right? The whole neck roll and everything, you know, my mom will be like, stop. So, but just I was in Dallas, I left 2 weeks ago, almost 4 months. And the last 4 months has been a doozy, just with all the laws changing, the things about women's health and wealth, so to speak. And so it's been somewhat stressful to kind of circle back around and figure out how to get back out. And so, yeah, it's both mental and physical, because a lot of times what I end up feeling is I don't think I'm stressed until I actually tense up. And I'll be sitting and I'm like so tense, the heaviness here and stuff. And all I wanted, y'all, was my 200 baht 1 hour massage in Thailand that costs $6 USD. That's all I want. That's all I want. So that's kind of been, you know, my experience. And like you, I'm not trying to like carry the negativity, because I felt like I didn't have it. when I was gone. I didn't need to think about it when I was gone, but as soon as I got back, it was like a whirlwind. So that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah, the police situation, I forgot about that. Soon as I flew into Austin, and so I took an Uber to the short-term apartment that I was staying for a little bit. When I first got back to US, I felt like it was best for me to just have some time to myself before I went to any family's house. So I got a week at a short-term apartment. And when I got there, there was a police officer in the parking garage. And I don't know why, I was just feeling like, oh, wow, I have to, I have my luggage and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get into this place, and they give you a code. But then I'm like, but the police officer is there. It's like, why am I scared that a police officer is there and I'm just trying to have my luggage and get into the building? And then when one of my family members came to pick me up from that short-term apartment, they called me and they're like, well, where did I park? There's a police officer down here. It's like we all have that sense of just seeing a police officer, which should be, oh, wow, there's a police officer here. It's like, that means that if something happens, they're here to protect me. It's like everyone, everyone's tensing up about it. And it's just normal for everyone. But then when we've been away for so many months or whatever, we realize that we didn't have those same feelings. Like in Playa, we could walk up to a police officer with a whole, automatic weapon and feel like, hola, and not feel like we about to, like something's about to happen. There's no feeling of tenseness, even though those officers are carrying, these large guns. It's just, it's crazy. But I'll go on to anyone next who wants to chime in on challenges of returning, physical and mental.
Jump in there, Sonia, if you don't mind, because it's so interesting that you would mention the police. I promise you, the very first day, and you can Google this, the very first day that I arrived back in Chicago, I was driving and I know better. Everything in my body said something's off. And I got on the expressway anyway, and I drove right into a shooting on, it had already happened, but I rolled right into the traffic. I think you kind of know your city when you've been there all your life. And I knew from the way that traffic was building, something about it just felt off in my body, but I ignored it. I kept, I thought, man, well, I've been away for a while. Maybe you're being paranoid. It can't be as bad as this. It surely can't be a shooting on the Dan Ryan Expressway the very first night I get home. And that's exactly what it was. It was such a rude awakening that, you said it, you touched on it. I see police in Playa del Carmen with automatic weapons, with their face masks. It could be pretty unnerving to see for the first time, but we understand, we see that every day. I've never had one interaction with any of those officers that wasn't positive. Not one time has anyone accosted me, asked me for an ID, nothing like that. We can laugh and joke, with them. It's a total different interaction. They look totally militarized. You would think that would be a scary interaction, and it isn't. I was more afraid in my own car on the Dan Ryan Expressway, because I saw all these state troopers whirling by. I don't know what that is. It's conditioning, year after year. I know what that means. It's trouble ahead. You don't want to be around here. You need to exit. And so just being away in that amount of time, I kind of felt like I slipped up. My city skills, my sixth sense, that being heightened on alert, I slipped up. I've been away for 8 months. Oh my God, I've gotten soft. I can't go back, because I think you do have to have a certain armor. You have to walk a particular way. There's a guard. There's this whole persona that you have to slip on if you are going back. And it's that juxtaposition. Those two things are so at odds. at odds. And it was so apparent to me the very first night. It set the tone. I was ready to go. I was like, you know what? That's good. I'm going to say hello to everyone I need to say hello to, and I'm out of here. Incredible. The police presence, you know, it's in both places, but the interactions are totally different. My perception, what my body told me was totally different. So I don't know, that's it can't be that it's an isolated incident. We all have similar experiences in our bodies, these bodily responses to the presence of the police in the States. That's not accidental, I don't
Yeah.
believe.
And it doesn't matter if, you know, because people think to themselves like, well, if you're a woman, it's just kind of like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. It doesn't matter if you're a little kid, because I remember being 14 years old. When I was 14, I probably weighed like 98 pounds. And I was at a football game and a police officer grabbed me. I have no idea till this day what the problem was. And that police officer grabbed me and he said, "What do you think you're doing?" And so, of course, from behind, I'm hearing someone saying that and grab me. I thought maybe it was one of my friends clowning with me or something. And I turn around, as a police officer. And so the fact that I'm just walking, he asked me, "What do you think you're doing?" My brain is trying to process, what do I tell him? Because I wasn't doing anything but walking. And so I'm staring at him, he's staring at me angry, and I just kind of backed away and walked away. But I mean, I think about that. I mean, I could have gotten killed or something because I'm walking away. But the question that he's asking me, "What do you think you're doing?" I was a tiny little girl, skinny. I had my hair in like I think I had one ponytail on top. It was really, really curly, and then all these candy curls. There's no way that I should have been a threat or whatever. But that type of thing will traumatize you. And so yeah, for me, I've never felt like somehow because I'm a woman or whatever that makes any difference. But anyone else want to talk about returning and your
Yeah.
challenges, mental and physical?
I'll address that. And it's funny because I'll kind of piggyback. Sondra, it's interesting you say that because we talk about the trauma that we've had. Yes, there's re-entering the United States, but I didn't know how to navigate in the Playa del Carmen spaces because of all that I've had to deal with in my 50 years in this area. So you don't know how to enjoy or to embrace or to feel it all because you're still like this. I can't help myself. I travel all over the world like the rest of us. I got to keep my head on swivel. It's just, that's the Bronx and Harlem in me. I can't help it. But we still have to be able to let go of something so we can enjoy where we are. And it was hard when I got there. So I don't think I was able to enjoy it as much as I could have in the beginning because I was still holding on to too much. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. But when you talk about coming back into the States, it really is a culture shock. Right on down to something as simple as avocados. I know that's a really big deal, the avocados, but I go shop, just the price of fruit, the price of food, how long your fruit lasts, because when you're down there, your fruit, you got to eat it because we don't have a lot of chemicals all over the place. It was all grown down the street. So there are all kinds of things that you have to get used to when you come back. The good thing is when I came back, I've come back and forth, but even with this, like I'm out of Mexico until the end of September, but I have been traveling a little bit and I find that helps to keep me in the space that I created when I got to, in that mental space that I created when I got to Playa after the release and the let go. So I'm able, it's more of a fight when you first come back. You got to work a little harder to hold on to all the things that you've created mentally and emotionally and spiritually for yourself. So it becomes a little bit more work. I have dedicated myself to the work though. I mean, I still have my family here. I have a love here. I have all this stuff here. So I I need to come back and forth to the States, right? But how much work have I been doing on myself so that it's a little effortless. It takes a little less effort each time I come back. That's the goal, to take less effort for that re-entry, because it takes up a lot of energy. And it takes up a lot of mental space and emotional space. And I will curl up in a ball in a corner and just let it all, just cry it out if I have to, because sometimes it becomes too much, that re-entry. And it seems like I'm being very dramatic about it, but it really is a lot to come back in after you set yourself into these spaces and places where you're like, okay, I can breathe. I can release, I can let go, I can latch on to exactly who I am. So it's work, but it's good work. And I'm learning that it's good work, and I'm getting used to that. Putting in that effort, like I said, effortless, that's the goal, that as I go into different spaces and places, it will be effortless.
If I can jump in there, go ahead, Sondra.
I was going to say, Lateefah, you know, it is definitely real. So much so that the U.S. Department of State has an entire page, you guys, dedicated to reverse culture shock. That thing is real. I had no clue. And I think one of the things, now that I know this, I would say to anybody, educate yourself. This is real. Us talking about it, I had no idea. But always having my sisters to be able to share, you know, just being able to say, this happened to me. And somebody else saying, oh, yeah, I had a similar experience. Well, we're learning with one another, but honestly, people have done this before. Reverse culture shock is real. The State Department has plenty of resources if you reach out. So anyone, maybe we can put the link in the description box. Yeah. But I read it, and as I'm reading it, I'm saying, oh my God, that was me. Oh my God, that happened to me. Oh my goodness, I experienced exactly what was on that list. So I think some of these experiences that we are having and sharing are very common.
That is, I'm so happy you shared that, because then that kind of makes, you know, I don't know why I was feeling like crazy. And if people are not part of like an expat group, they're not part of your digital nomad lifestyle, they've just stayed in the US, they are looking at me like I'm crazy. You know, it's like, what are you talking about? You know, but I'm gonna include that link in the description box. Thank you for sharing that. And Kimberland, you were about to jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and kind of bring in some of the practical type things that were shock for me, that I had to get back used to. So for instance, dealing with the fact that I am in essence homeless when I'm in the States, right? So dealing with, where am I going to stay? Who am I going to stay with? Am I overstaying my welcome? Can I deal with these interactions, you know, on a consistent basis, knowing that I'm usually spending most of the time by myself, many days where I don't even speak, because unless I'm talking to myself, right? So that was a lot. Even I had gone down to New Orleans, which is home, and I was supposed to stay with one of my cousins, and then I couldn't stay there, so I had to call another cousin, and I'm like, hey, I'm coming over. You know, it's just like having to navigate those spaces, because I gave up everything when I left. Remembering how to drive a car. Right? I haven't driven since, what was it, October or September of 2021. So like having to actually get in a car, it felt like, okay, check mirrors. Okay, put car in drive. Like it was so wonky, like as I was trying to figure out again how to exist that way. Even remembering that I can use the water. Right? Like I can use the water to cook. I can use the water to brush my teeth. I have to like keep reminding myself when I wash the dishes, I don't have to make sure they're completely dry. It's totally fine. Like the water, you can drink it. Remembering that people speak English. Like I was so conditioned to default to Spanish, and somebody would call and I'd answer the phone. I'm like, oh, they speak English here. I forgot. Like being able to do that. It's expensive AF in the States. I don't know how y'all making it. Like Yo,
Mhm.
I was like, I got to get out of here. And I was in Boston, I was in Brooklyn, I was in New Orleans, I was in Pennsylvania for a moment. And I was like, it was bad everywhere. Like, how are people sustaining life? Like, I feel like I paid 2.5 times more for everything than I pay in Mexico. So that was definitely a thing to like, I gotta hurry up and get out of here because this is like just draining money for no reason. And then the last thing that I think that I wanted to mention was closed-mindedness of other people. So for instance, I was taking the shuttle. I had landed in New York and I needed to get a rental car. So I was taking the shuttle and the driver was asking me, where I was coming from and where I was heading and all that. So I said, I'm heading to Mexico City. Oh, I would never go there. And I was like, sir, have you been to Mexico City? No, and I ain't gonna go. And I was like, humor me. Why? They out there kidnapping the people and, they're killing people in the streets. And I was like, it's nothing like that. Like, it's nothing like that.
What city was that in?
What'd you say?
What city was that in that he was saying that?
That was in New York City.
Oh,
Which
nobody,
is
okay.
crazy.
Okay,
In New York City.
That's
nobody don't
crazy.
kidnap nobody in New York City. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it was
if
so
anybody ever
nice.
says that to you again, just tell them, they're pushing people off of subway stations, platforms too. Like, I had that when I told people I was moving, they immediately were like, girl, they kidnap people. They're like, yeah, well, they also do this where I'm born and raised. So what's your point?
Exactly. But it was so odd, like how he felt so empowered to speak about a country that he had never even been to, and I was like, sir, I live there. Like, I don't know what you're talking about or what you saw on TV, but like, I live there. So I'm telling you, like, that's not what it is. But all of those little things, right? So for me, it wasn't really, I can say when I was in Playa, one of the things that made me extremely uncomfortable were the police with the guns. Like, I can't, with the machine guns, I can't do it. It's a lot. And apparently that might be from past trauma that I have, but I was like, this is not making me feel good. But here in Mexico City, it's not like that. Police are everywhere. They have regular guns, like, it's totally fine. But there's just a difference in how people treat you, right? Like, people are kind. And that's whenever anyone asks me about Mexico, I'm like, people in Mexico are so kind. They are so patient. They look out for each other. They care about their city. I'm like, do y'all know that it's people's job to clean the street all day? Do you know that? I'm like, they actually sweep the street. And I'm like, New York would never. New Orleans would never, right? So it's really weird being back in the States and seeing the opposite of that, seeing that people just tossing stuff everywhere, or there's trash on the streets or whatever, but this is supposed to be the greatest country, in the world. Like, it was a conglomeration of all those little things for me that really made me just frolic down the street when I got back here today. I was like, I am so glad to be back because I can't do it no more.
Wait a minute. So Kimberland, are we frolicking?
Oh, I'm a professional frolicker, honey. I'm out here frolicking. Okay.
We need to make a frolicking video.
Yes.
Yeah, I say we need to all get together in Thailand and just frolic away. So I'm
here for it. Frolicking and that's something we don't get to experience in the States. Like, we don't get to frolic down the street.
Unless you want somebody to call the police on you over, suspicious activity. There's
a group of Black women out here skipping down the path. Something must be up, but that is my life. Like, here in Mexico, I'm just skipping to the park and like just frolicking everywhere. Like, yeah.
Yeah, after this, I'll be frolicking down the pathway around the block down the street to go to karaoke on the beach. And it's dark, but I'm going to frolic on over there.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Oh my goodness. I need to get back to that carefree life. And I noticed that it's like people don't have the same opportunity to be carefree here. Because everything is so expensive, because you know, the cost of living is more than what most people make. People are very angry, you know, like even like my first day, you know, in Austin, and I had to do like the grocery delivery. It's like the grocery delivery guy, you can tell he was pissed off, you know? It's like, I had never met that man in my life, but I just messaged him like, hey, it's, you know, the apartment buildings to where it's the elevators and they have to get in. I'm like, let me just check with this man and make sure that, you know, he can get in. And I think I received a message saying that your groceries have arrived. And I messaged him like, hey, you know, have you arrived? Because I can help you get in. He's like, well, you tell me if I've arrived. I'm like, why are you angry with me, sir? I'm just trying to help you. But then when he finally did get to my door, it was him and his child delivering groceries. And I think for a lot of people, the whole idea of maybe they went to work all day and then you have to, you know, go home and get your babies, and you and the baby got to do DoorDash together. Like he was carrying bags, the baby was carrying bags, you know, because everything is just so extremely expensive. And so people are pissed off, you know, and they've probably gotten treated very poorly. So for me, it's like I didn't get offended. I felt like, wow, I'm wondering how I would feel if after, you know, possibly I've worked a full-time job all day, that now me and my kid are having to deliver a DoorDash, and the baby can't just go home and watch cartoons. The baby is helping daddy with DoorDash. I understood the frustration. People are, you know, you can tell a lot of people are angry with each other because people are just beyond frustrated, you know. But I think Kayla and Tara, I don't know if we got to y'all.
Yeah, go ahead, Tara. No, go ahead.
You sure? Okay. So I just wanted to piggyback off of everything that you said about the driving, especially because my car sat here for like 2 weeks at a time, or whenever I go away, if it's a month or 2 weeks or whatever, I come back and I'm telling my family, like, I don't do this anymore. They're like, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't drive to the store. So I'm getting chauffeured around just because it brings me a level of stress. People are upset. They're honking on the horn. They're rushing. And I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So the more I'm over here and just enjoying the walking around, since Playa is so walkable, my health is, my digestion and everything like you just mentioned is affected because I don't think I'm as mobile to get all this toxicity out of the body. And so even though, you know, I eat fairly healthy, it's nothing like just being in a natural environment, getting that food that's just natural and, you know, clean. And then I came back and I'm telling Sonia, I went out to the Sondra. I went to the store and I had 3 different reminders that, you know, you're not carrying. I have to go back and make sure I'm strapped up when I leave. It's terrible because the mindset around everyone else is that, and they're angry. You just don't know. So I'm just on guard everywhere I go. And like you said, in Playa, those big giant guns, they don't bother me. I never felt, I mean, you're mindful of where you are, but there was never a real heightened sense of, I have to be on guard. I have to have something with me. But it's like, soon as I come back here, it feels like it's screaming at me. You need some sort of protection on your body, in your somewhere around you, whatever that might look like for you. And I just don't want to deal with that either. So hence why my pursuit is to, you know, remain long-term as much as possible, and then try to just retain a lot of the life of ease that we experience when we're away, and being mindful to bring back some of that learned culture that you see, the value that the natives may have in their land. If we can just do a little bit of that for our area, for what it's worth, Just remembering that balance to sustain us until we can leave again, I think is my little reminder. Like, okay, Tara, this may not be permanent, but you have these little life experiences that you learn that's going to sustain you until you depart the next time.
That's so well
Yeah.
said. Kayla, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, okay. I will, Kimberland, mine and your experience is a lot the same. I have not driven a car in 2022. So coming back to the States and realizing, okay, I think I need to rent a car to get around because I'll be here for until the end of September. And I'm a little nervous because I haven't driven in so long. Also, I don't want to drive because, like Tara was saying, we don't do that anymore. So there's like a whole host of things that we kind of, those of us who live outside of the country, particularly in economies where the USD is super strong, we have an opportunity to do things and treat ourselves in ways that a lot of us have not been able to treat ourselves in the past. So, for example, I have not driven this year. I have not done my laundry this year, my own laundry. I have not cleaned anything this year. I've washed a couple of dishes just because I felt like it. But this is because the US dollar is so strong in the place where I spent the majority of my time that I can afford to have those kind of services done for me so I can go to the beach instead. Huge culture shock coming back to the United States and realizing that, I mean, the costs are easily triple. When I landed in Mexico City at the beginning of last month, I took an Uber from the airport, about 30 minutes out from the airport, and my cost was $7 USD. And that's airport pricing, airport transfer pricing on Uber. Last night to get from the airport to my parents' house was $47 USD. And so, and on like this, the food like this. And I really I don't understand how it's livable and how people can treat themselves at the level that we're able to treat ourselves in a lot of places outside of the country with the way the prices are. Another thing physically that I struggled with, and people are gonna laugh at this, the AC in the US is so out of control, outrageous, cold, freezing. Because I've been in Playa for so long, 90% humidity, feels like 102 degrees is totally normal to me. And then when you go into the AC and you feel like you're blasting it, it's like on 28 degrees Celsius, which is not really blasting in the States, right? So you get to the States and like, I can't sit in a Starbucks. The artificial cold is just like, it's sickening. So that's difficult. There's just like this feeling of overall feeling of waste in the United States. Just this accumulation of things and waste of resources and AC blasting way too low and people with too much stuff and just, I don't know, it just feels very wasteful. And then I think the other thing that I struggle with is my relationships with people. When I get back, it almost feels like a struggle to know what to talk about because the experiences that I have outside of the United States are so much more rich and so much more curious and so much more out of my comfort zone. And I get to have those experiences with women like you all who value curiosity and rich experiences and being outside of your comfort zones too, that it's difficult to come back to the States and talk with people, even if you love them, about the promotion at their job and the television show that they're watching and the new sushi place down the street. It's difficult to find a sense of enjoyment in that when we've been together doing something so life-changing. And I feel bad saying that, but that's been pretty difficult for me too.
If I could jump in on the end of that, because there's this underlying sense as well of jealousy and envy that, you know, it must be nice to live in Mexico, must be nice to not drive a car, must be nice, you know, and it's like, I want to pack you up and take you with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want you to win as well, but people have not really well received the ability that I have the privilege to be able to do these things. And if they make slight changes, they can have those privileges as well. So it manifests as anger that they want to be able to do it, but because I got to take my kid to do DoorDash with me and I'm paying $47 for an Uber. Like, I can't afford to do those things. So let me direct my anger at you because you're doing that. So then you get the must be nice. So that was a struggle too for me with conversations because you're talking about your life. Yay, I want to talk about mine and how I'm frolicking through the streets, and people can't relate to the fact that I'm frolicking through the streets because they stomping through the streets because they mad, you know. So that was really interesting to navigate too.
I just want to say thank you, Kayla, for talking about laundry because I'm still waiting for somebody to fold my clothes. Like, I'm so over it. I was like,
We don't do that anymore.
let me tell you, I was in Dallas and I was talking to my friend and I said, is there a place that I can take my clothes? She was like, yeah, you could go to the cleaners. And I was like, yeah, but how much they charge? Because I'm used to paying like $6 for like, you can't even see, y'all, you know, all of these clothes and stuff like that. And then everything you guys have said is 100% on point. I was thinking, because I've been in multiple places for the last 20 months, when you were talking about driving, I literally had to think about which side of the road. Like, there were so many times I was like, oh crap, I'm not turning into the close lane. I gotta turn. And I actually forgot when I was in Thailand, I literally forgot. I was like, how do we drive in the US? I'm like, do we drive on the right side of the car? Or do I sit on the, I completely forgot how. And when I got my car, I was like, oh, it's the left side of the car. So yeah, it's a lot of things that you don't even really, you don't think about. And you don't, like, without groups like this, I've joined a lot of, I think not a lot, but more specific intentful groups of like just different groups to connect with people, mainly with people that I'm meeting as I travel, whether they're locals. And sometimes I do need an expat group with me, because even with locals, they don't understand because they haven't had the opportunity to go anywhere. And so we sound super privileged. I'm broke traveling. And that's not even, you know, I had to refrain from saying that. I had to learn that I'm privileged in saying I'm broke because I'm sitting in another country for 8 months. You know what I'm saying? So those kinds of things. So you get it from both sides. Like you're talking about like just having something to, you know, I know conversate is not a word, but I'm gonna say it. Conversate with people about, and everybody wants to know about your travels, but do they really? Because let me tell you, I could talk for 14 hours straight. Bring me some juice. I'm good. I can literally talk forever about the experiences. And a big part, I'll add to one more culture, mental, physical thing. And it's the reality of the truth that's outside of what we've been told, outside of what we know, and like the dealing with the people that tell you, oh my God, it's dangerous somewhere else. And you literally scratch your head. You're not trying to be cocky, like, where do you live? I had to tell my mother, I was like, Mom, what you're defending is the same thing that you go off about in the States. It's like tunnel vision. It's like, I hate being in the States, but oh my God, something's gonna happen to you over there. And I'm just like, but we're Black in the United States though. So, you know, afford some, you know, it's like you start to, I ask people, I'm just like, at what point do we lose our natural ability to think? And I think a long time ago, and I think there's only handfuls of us. Y'all ever hear that thing, 85, 10, 5%? 85% of the world are the people who are the pawns, like they're just kind of making it, they're making the cycle continue. I don't know if it's a good cycle. The 10% are the ones who have the money, you know, they're spending money and doing everything and don't want other people to know. And then the 5% are the people who really kind of know that there's something else, and they're talking about the something else. They're living the something else. We're the ones that are like, if you can afford the things that you're telling me that you spend, the stuff that you have, I am one of those people that came back and was like, get rid of everything, because for 2 years I haven't used it. Y'all, it was, you know, all of this stuff, don't tell me you can't afford it, because I could just walk into one room in your house and we got $1,000 right there, boo. Let's go. So if you really want to go, you know, so having those types of conversations and stuff. So I'm gonna pass this link to everybody, because y'all are the stuff that you guys are bringing up. Like, you know how you just forget it, like, you know, oh my God, these are the things that literally I came back to and was like, what I come back for again? And how quickly can I leave?
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say. Ali, how long for you guys? How long were you away or back in the States before reverse homesickness set in? I was ready to go. After 3 days, I was like, yep, you know what? I'm ready
One
to
day.
go.
Yeah.
When I got to the airport and
Immediate.
had
Hey,
I think it took me a week, but yeah.
Yeah,
I was
It took a
over
little
it, y'all. If I didn't have to deal with some stuff, I would, like, if I didn't have to go back, y'all, I got rear-ended 2 days before I left, 2 weeks ago. And even my family, they're like, you don't need to come back for that. I had to park my car, and somebody was talking about, I don't know if it was you, Kimberland, saying that you realize that you're homeless. So I now call myself a homeless nomad. So when Sonya, you were saying you were back, y'all, we need to form a group, and like, whenever we get back, we like room together or something. Cause you know, people are offering me to stay, and I don't stay with my parents because the energy is just not right. And as free as that is, it ain't freeing. Like, people don't understand. Like, my mom was like, why would you spend money? Even before I left, I stayed in a hotel the 3 days before I left and flew out of town. And she was like, you could have stayed here. And I was like, oh no, I couldn't. You know, and it was just because, and I even told her, I said, there's different energies, and it's no different than what we're talking about here, that extra strain and pressure. And I, you know, shared, you know, what I would love to see my parents do and what, you know, my kids and stuff. And that's a lot of pressure for me. It's a lot of strain and stress when you want people to be, or they say they want to do something and you know they can, like, it's within reach, but you know that they're not willing to make the sacrifices to do it. And that's just a lot of stress. And I just rather not. I'd rather be by myself, like you said, Kimberland. I don't be listen, whatever can hear me is what I talk to. And so, you know, you forget that these things exist when you leave, and you got to come back and re-immerse yourself into it.
Yeah. I don't
and that can be hard too, because you know what? One of the things I'm sure most of you have this story too. I let go of a lot of stuff. Like, I can fit all of my belongings in 2 to 3 suitcases. I'd never thought that would ever be my life. So there's this power that we have to let go of stuff that we never had before. It's a superpower. So we can pick up our bags and be out.
Yeah,
And so that's why when you all talk
down.
about going to be with your parents or your parents' homes and stuff, you're like, no, I have the art of letting go. So I'm gonna let go of the drama that you bring to me. And I'm gonna go and live my life, do my thing. So I'll see you tonight for dinner.
Yeah.
Because that's your piece.
Yeah, that stuff will weigh you down. And so before I left for Playa back in February, I put a lot of stuff in storage, and everyone was asking me, like, why are you putting this stuff in storage? I think I was still holding on. And then once I got to Playa, people were like, okay, you have a whole storage, what's in there? And I said, I don't know. You know, it's like, there's all this stuff, I don't know what's in there. So then that let me know, it's like, obviously I don't need that stuff. So since I've gotten back, I've lightened my load already with storage. I got rid of a bedroom set to where a friend of mine, she needed that. And so I was able to sell that to her for a really good price. And so then now there's a lot of the babies here going to college and getting their first apartments. And so I felt like God had me hold on to that stuff for the right time, because then a lot of my dishes are going to, new, kids venturing off into life. They need dishes, and, TV is going to my niece who's going to go to college and all that stuff. So now I'm just like, okay, I held on to it for the right time when the right people need it, but it feels good that I'm already seeing my storage get lighter and lighter, and that's going to make it to where I can just get up and go. But yeah, the thing about the whole, one thing I appreciate, and I think it's very sweet that a lot of friends and family have offered for me to stay with them. But it's very tough. It's very tough once you've gotten out there, you've been living on your own, you have a different way of thinking, and it's not worth, kind of the bumping of heads. And I think a lot of times as Black people in this country, we're used to, you live in a constant state of you ready to fight, kind of. I went to get my hair cut earlier today, and the ladies in there were talking about they treat us so bad, but we're gonna have to fight for, it's like, so this whole narrative of we are always having to fight. And I wanted to say, but I was just like, let me just get my hair cut and get up out of here. I wanted to be like, you don't have to always, why? Like, she's like, you can go somewhere else, you don't have to constantly be in a fight. But I think a lot of times we also know that you'll be kind of fighting, but you won't be winning the fight. You'll just be fighting till the death. And for what? And I've saw a lot of people in that situation. I think that's when I start to see people who were younger, 40 and younger, having heart attacks and dying. That's when I've known a handful of people like that. 3 of my coworkers, all Black people, died at very young ages of heart attacks. And then a family friend, she was 40 years old, and it was stress. And so I think when I started to see that stuff, then that's when I was like, okay, there's a different and better way. And I told y'all in the last video that I worked at a company to where the ambulance would be rolling in. The funniest thing is this apartment right here, if I look at out my window, that company is right there. So I'm just like, I need to be looking out my windows, be waving at the ambulance. Like, I remember when I was over there, y'all was there every day. But that stuff is not normal. It's like we sit here in a state of stress and constantly in a fight situation. And yeah, it's just like, I have to do something different. I mean, for my healing, I have to do something different.
It's a way to not be accountable or take responsibility, because it's a fight that we don't control that fight. And so you'll keep fighting it because you can blame someone outside of yourself, right? Like this fight, we built America, we should stay. We built America, we should leave. I mean, we have the strongest passport. I think we've climbed back up in the world, and we can go anywhere in the world. And I think there's a huge fear of being responsible for yourself. And I think that's why we take on that plight of fight. And I like you said, Sonia, I literally don't feel like that's my calling in life, is to keep fighting. So I'm not saying like, we don't deserve the freeness and the privileges, but if all I got to do is fly 2 hours south and I get it and it's cheaper.
Why not?
And I don't know who was talking about you came back and you feel like you're not mobile. Lateefah, it may have been you. Literally, I'm telling you, I walked every day in Thailand, like everywhere, up hills, down hills, around hills. I came back to Dallas. Do you know I was sitting in my house with a backyard for like 3 days straight and hadn't gone outside. And I was like, and I would look and peer out the window and stuff and be like, ooh, no. There's no, ooh, I don't want to go outside, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's, there's that big fear of you know, if I get up and do something, I'm in control of what happens.
Yeah, we've normalized always being in an active state. So even if it's fight or flight, we've just normalized that we always have to fight. We've normalized always having to do something. It's normal. And that's part of the problem. It's normalized. It's in our DNA. It's in the fiber of our being. And we have denormalized that. I don't know. Is that a word? I'm gonna use it anyway. We have denormalized it. And now when we talk about coming back or going to another place, now we've got to hold on to denormalizing sitting in our trauma and thinking it's okay.
Yeah, you guys, this whole conversation, it makes me feel like I'm not crazy. You know, I don't know if anybody else felt crazy, but it makes
No,
me
I
feel like
did.
I'm not crazy. And another question that I have is, what advice would you all give to expats, digital nomads, of how you can prepare for re-entering the US? One thing I can say is that I know that I was not prepared. And so I know that you do have to mentally prepare. And it's like you can't get on such a high of you're out of the US, you feel like your load is lighter. And so you feel like, okay, I'm good, kind of. And that's where I got caught up, because I felt like, no, but I'm good. I think I'm good. And then I got knocked in the face, you know, got punched in the face when I got here because I wasn't, prepared. You know, it's almost like I thought since I changed that it changed here. That's not how that works, ma'am, you know. So does anyone have any advice for digital nomads, expats? How can you mentally prepare for re-entering the US?
I think one of the things that I did before I left is I gave up my apartment early here so that I could get myself used to the fact that I was going to be homeless when I was in the US. So I gave up my apartment. I went to a hotel because I felt like I was too settled. And I knew that if I didn't take that small step for myself, that when I got back, it would be complete shock, like, oh my God, I don't have anywhere to be, right? So that was one of the things that I did. But one of the, I think, most important things that we can get comfortable with as expats who will be entering the US in whatever capacity at whatever times is setting boundaries. We have to be super, super intentional about setting boundaries regarding how we're going to interact with people. Some of the things we already mentioned: where are we going to stay? Who are we not going to stay with? The time that we need to maintain our peace, right? So to Lateefah's point earlier of us being in this conditioned state of fight mode in the US, deciding I'm not going to do that. Therefore, that means I'm gonna have to move a certain way when I'm here. There are certain conversations I'm not gonna be able to have. There are certain people I'm not gonna be able to be around because those people try to pull me back into that mindset and I'm not there. And being okay with that, and also being okay with the misinterpreting of those intentions, because they're gonna call you bougie. They're gonna tell you think y'all at, right? And like, be all right with that. Like, just, that's fine. But let me tell you what I'm not about to do though, is be over here stressed out with my nerves bad because you feel some type of way, right? So I think we really have to get comfortable with advocating for ourselves and setting those boundaries, whatever that looks like, for us to be able to maintain our peace that we live outside the US, to hold on to that when we're in the US without letting the systems disrupt and pull us back into that traumatized state.
Very well said. Kayla,
that's perfectly said. And I'll piggyback on what Kimberland said about setting the boundaries, because I am not good at setting boundaries yet. I'm getting better. But how I navigated that as a person who's working on setting boundaries is the first time I went back to the States, I picked 2 people outside of my parents who I told I was going back to the States. And I didn't tell anyone else that I was there. I didn't post on social media that I was there until after I had gone back to Mexico. So that was kind of my workaround, because I knew I'm still working on setting boundaries. It's going to be difficult if this certain person or that certain person reaches out and invites me out. I'm going to have a hard time making up an excuse. I'll feel guilt. So I just didn't say. So that's one strategy, is just pick a couple of people if you're not comfortable, and let those be the only people who you tell that you're going home, or you're going to the States. Another thing that I would suggest is book your next adventure before you go back to the States. That helped me. So when I went back to the States in May, I already had my flight out to Mexico City booked, and I knew I was going to Mexico City to explore in Veracruz, which is what I just got done doing last month. And I had that to look forward to. So even though I was experiencing this reverse culture shock, I knew, like, okay, on this date, I need a ride to the airport. Like I was anticipating. And so even now, I got here last night, but I have an appointment in Prague on October 10th. So I know I have to at least be in Europe by the beginning of October, so whatever happens, right? So that's something that kind of keeps me motivated, and not too discouraged with dealing with being in a place that we intentionally left. And the other thing, and this might be more woo-woo, and this is more for nomadic people, which I am, is that the giving away of all of my things, it felt like the hard part, but I realize now that was easier than giving away my emotional attachments. Part of being a nomad is also releasing the emotional attachments to places, even the places that you love, right? So like, I love Playa so much, but I had to learn to release some of my emotional attachment even to Playa del Carmen, so that when I got to Mexico City, I could truly enjoy it. When I got to Jico and Jalapa and Coatepec and all the places that I just got to see, I wouldn't spend the whole time missing the pool at the Thompson. And so the more that I release and give away and enter situations as empty as I possibly can and as curious as I possibly can, the easier it is for me, especially coming to the States. You just, if you're a nomadic person, don't think of the release in only a material sense. Release everything, and then it gets easier to kind of float in and out of spaces.
That was good, Kayla, girl. I got chills.
That was
Wasn't
perfect. I
that?
know. Except, I'm sorry, I will always miss the pool at the Thompson.
I know. We'll be back. We'll be
But
back.
you don't
Sondra
know.
won't have it any other way.
And you have to stay in touch with your friends. Listen, you have to stay in touch with your expat friends, I think.
Yeah.
When you go back
Those
home,
groups are everything.
you do, because there are things that Sonia and I talk about that I just don't have to explain. I do not have the energy to explain to my mother, my sister, my friends, why I feel this way and why I'm moving the way I move. So even when I was back in Chicago, I met, it was like I never left. I was still in WhatsApp every day. I was still talking to my expat friends. I was still talking to my friends. So I had that support still. So when I was grinding my teeth and clenching my fist about things that were going wrong, I could just, pick up my phone and be like, you know what, this thing happened to me today. And I instantly had a community that understood. They knew exactly what to say. I could go on and not kill somebody. So thank you all. If I would say anything, make sure don't, since you're home and you're out of the country, don't fall out of touch with your expat friends. That's when you need them the most.
Yeah, and I think another way to that I could have prepared. Well, okay, I'm gonna go back to a thing that I did do right. Having that week stay after, I got to the airport in Austin and had that first week to myself was so important. And so I think Kimberland was talking about that. Don't go straight from Mexico City, Thailand to your old bedroom with the teddy bears. Do not do that. That's I thank God I didn't, you know.
Disaster.
I was back for a little bit in the bedroom, you know, and my nephews just look at me like, that's daddy old room. I don't know what you doing in here, ma'am, but it's like, I think really, I know we all want to save money, but if you have some funds that you can have your own housing while you're in the US, do it, you know, because I was feeling homeless, and I think I applaud my family for trying to do things to make sure I didn't feel homeless. It's like, you're not homeless, you got a room here, you got a room here, you got a room here. But I think that it's just best, you know, for me, I know that going forward, that before I even leave where I'm at abroad, that I'm gonna have to have the whole time that I'm in the US, my housing is gonna have to be just kind of me to myself. I had one other thing that I was gonna talk about. I hate when it happens to where I forget what I was gonna say, and I think it's gone. I think it's gone. Oh no.
It'll come back. I want to, Allie, was it you that said, didn't you say it's free, but it's not freeing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a message right there.
Yes, it is. That'll preach.
Yeah, I was gonna add kind of what we've been, you know, talking about, you know, just that re-entering phase and, you know, keeping in touch. Sondra, you said to keep in touch with your, let me tell you, my phone book, my WhatsApp phone book is lit, y'all, because it's so weird. In the States, I don't think about staying with anybody. I got a house. Well, now I don't. I've sold 2 houses. I didn't, you know, what, you know, and I actually booked a hotel for next week, and a friend was like, oh, well, you could stay here. And I was like, and then I was like, you know what? And somebody kept saying in my ear, let people help you. So the flip side is it's knowing who understands, and she's a traveler. So she's going to be gone and all that. And she was, and you know, stuff. No, I think the biggest thing is understanding when we have to let go. So once we venture off, we become different. So be okay being different. You're changing. We are changing as we are going through this process. Every single thing we're doing, we're manifesting dreams as we're going along, or things that we've considered or wanted to do for ages and ages and ages. And it's, people don't understand, for us too, it's like, you know, somewhat like, you know, this, you have this fear or terror behind you, but it's the thing that drives you to do it, right? So it's not just like a cakewalk. Like, we're literally, a lot of times I feel like I'm planning all the time. Like I just told someone today, I can't wait, a girl that I met in wherever I just was, San Pedro, I was like, I can't wait to get settled for 6 months because I'm tired of planning, right? So knowing when you come back, you're different now, right? So everybody is not going to feel good in your space anymore, right? And that's okay. It's gonna be okay. Somebody was talking about letting go. And I'm gonna tell you, I got stuff in storage, and half of it's Star Wars and Lord of the Rings stuff. I need time, y'all. Just give me time, okay? My brother is like, why is it in storage? And I was like, cuz you can't have it yet. So, you know, so I'm still holding on to a few things or whatever, but realizing that it's okay to leave energies behind. Mm-hmm. It's not a bougie thing. You're not better than anyone else, but you're growing. You're growing with every single step we make, every decision that we make, whether we come home or not, whatever it is, we're growing. And my son told me, because I did offload, I gave them so much stuff. So talking about like being the right time to give things away, I think, Sonia, you were saying that. It was a blessing because they took the whole house, and I was like, y'all sure you don't want these other 2 pieces? Because that means I got to do something with them, you know? But my son told me, I was like, this is the first time in my life that I have not had a corporate job. I quit my job 2 years ago. And I have not had my own set of keys. Y'all, I only have a car key on my ring now and locked to storage. that's all I have. And I was like, I am officially homeless. And I was like, I feel like a 13-year-old. And my son was like, Mom, be 13, you deserve it. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. So knowing when you come back, you're different. It's okay to be different. Don't allow those outside energies to discourage you or get you off of your path, even if you have to come back to reset. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be somebody going, oh, you thought you could. When you start living this life, I find that those people say all of that behind my back, which is fantastic, because where are they? Behind my back. They don't talk to me because typically and I don't want to say people are envious, like I don't think about it that way. I just feel like we're not on the same level. So there's nothing for us to talk about because my energy agitates them, right? Mm-hmm. So when your energy agitates people, they tend to stay away, so you don't really hear about those things. But what I did realize, one of the hardest things too, it was difficult, is the circle of who wanted to know how you're doing has decreased. They gone. Like,
gone. Where are they?
Is it because they want to know how you were doing because they were waiting for you to fail?
That, or, they're looking at you and we're elite. We're traveling elite, y'all. Even if we're frugal, even if, we're literally talking about how expensive it is in the United States. And I told somebody, I was like, I have to leave. I can't afford to stay in the United States.
Crazy.
Y'all, this is crazy. Yeah. I said, how much y'all pay? No.
It happened so quick. Like from February to me, going back, this month, I'm like, how did all that happen in that little bit of time? Like, I mean, I know it was expensive, before, but housing is just, it's insane. But that was another thing that it had slipped my mind, and now it's come back. The way we can prepare is understanding that there's certain conversations that you're going to have with people that's going to be just very surface level. And that's just what you're going to have to do to protect yourself from not getting back here and always fighting. It's like, I understand that a lot of people, we will just be talking about movies. I know Kaylah was talking about that. It feels weird. You're going to be like, so how was Nope? So
I'm like, I'm used to sitting on the beach and having like these therapeutic conversations with women who have been in 7 different countries this year. Mm-hmm. I don't really want to talk about that.
Yeah, you're going to be talking about gas prices. You're going to be talking about, in DFW, you're going to be talking about they're putting up new HEB grocery stores. That's the conversations. Girl, you hadn't saw I saw 2 HEB locations here in DFW. That's the stuff that you would be talking about, because otherwise it's, and I don't also like to disturb up something in people. I hate the fact that, somehow the conversations, and now it's like, I feel like I'm fighting with everybody, and then I start to feel a little guilty. So I'm just like, well, maybe, for a lot of people outside of my expat sisters, the conversations will be very, surface level, and it will be very much so what's on Netflix, and
and that's okay. That's okay. I one of the things that I wrote down for myself is giving myself permission to sit in that uncomfortable space, that these relationships have changed. I've changed. People don't always accept the changes. I've changed the dance. They're accustomed to me being a particular way with them. I am no longer that. So the entire dance has changed. So of course they're going to be uncomfortable. But guess what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you being uncomfortable. Just don't make me uncomfortable. I'm going to go over here and do my thing. You do your thing. I'm okay with that. That was hard for me. That people pleasing in you. Like you said, you don't want to stir up those uneasy feelings in somebody, and you're always trying to placate, like, okay, no, this is what I do. Yes, I spa. Yes, I travel. Yes, I have a housekeeper. Yes, that's what I do. That's what I do. And I'm okay with it. Now it's up to you to get okay with it. If you want to be in my space. And if you can't
She
get
not
okay,
playing. Sandra
it's
not playing
okay.
about that spa
I'm not playing.
at
No, and
all.
it will not make me feel guilty. You know that thing of, yeah, I've got that too. Oh, must be nice. Well, actually it is. And you should try it. Come with me. I'll show you the way. It's not hard. I'm here for that. And I'm not apologizing anymore. That last time, I'm not apologizing anymore. I'm going to take all the advice that you all gave. I will no longer stay with friends and family. I love you all and thank you. I appreciate it. I'd rather pay. I'd rather pay to be free and just be able to enjoy my family and friends when I'm in their presence. I don't want to agitate either. I just want to come, do what I have to do and enjoy you all. And
Yeah,
that's it. That's one way.
yeah. Also, I talked about in the video when I got back to US, I did a video. And not just like the what was I gonna say? The temperature inside of people's houses. It's like that's another thing to where there's everything of how someone keeps their space. It can make you, damn near sick. So I was having that as well, to where our bodies change. And one lady was telling me, I said, it's so cold in these buildings. She's like, oh, first world problems. But it really is, your body temperature has changed. And now I'm getting here sick because I'm in somebody's house with a t-shirt, sweatpants, socks, then like damn near a jacket on over that and then under the covers. That type of stuff. It's like you're staying in someone else's house, it'll make you sick. And then on top of that also, I've been by myself, and when we went to Cancun, it was all girls in the house. And then you go from that to couples. So there's men in the house. You gotta be covered up. You gotta have a bra. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh wow, now I'm feeling like, I have to really behave a certain way because that's somebody's house. I'm just like, oh, I'm all about the freedom journey. And it's just like, I appreciate it, but I need my own space. Another thing I want to touch on a bit, because I know a lot of you guys, when you talk about, being in another country, you might talk about Thailand, Mexico, whatever, and people will say like, there's nowhere that's, perfect. And I have an understanding of that my freedom might feel like it's in Mexico. My freedom could be someone else's prison, So I understand that. I have friends who are Mexican here, and they said that they've never been to Mexico. Like their grandparents are from Mexico, their parents are from Mexico, because their parents had traumatic experiences in Mexico and they don't ever want to come back here. So I have an understanding of that, and and Lateefah's gonna have to jump off. So thank you so much, love.
Bye, sweetie pie.
Yeah. Oh, I think Lateefah, you're on mute, I think.
See, look at that. Wasn't that the line of the year? You're on mute. I was saying, I may be living the same life you all are, but you're still inspiring. And when I think, Sondra, you were the one who said, we have to make sure we keep in contact with our expat friends. It's conversations like these that this is what we should normalize.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we start normalizing people who are finding their peace wherever they can, and understanding that their peace is wherever they are and wherever they go, and knowing that can be anywhere. So having the power to find your peace, protect it, be fierce with protecting it wherever you go. So yeah, I'm inspired by all of you.
Yeah, and I think we're about to wrap up as well. But yeah, I have an appreciation and a respect for the fact that for some people, their peace is in the US. It's like those people that I spoke to and their family was from Mexico, and they were like, I don't see how you go. I will never go there. It was because of something traumatic that their grandmother or whoever dealt with in their pieces here in the US. So I think a lot of times I've had conversations with people and they're fighting me about nowhere is perfect. And it's like there's a lot of stuff that people tell us that they think that we don't get, or there can be danger in Mexico, like we somehow didn't know that. But was there any closing?
So I wanted to jump in on what you were saying just now, Sonia, because I think that there's a place for everybody, right? There's a place for everybody that is your place. For instance, on my way in between going to Mexico and going back to the States, I went to DR. And I had never been. I thought I was going to practice my Spanish. And then I got there and I was like, que no entiendo. Like, what are y'all saying? I had no clue. I was like, I must don't speak no Spanish. What is happening right now? But the culture there in DR is not one that speaks to my spirit. I didn't like it. I didn't like anything about it. And I wanted so badly to be like, yes, this is an amazing place, because I know people that's their place, right? And I was like, yeah, nah, this ain't it for me, right? But then when I think about Mexico City, or I think about Medellin, for instance, those are places that speak to my spirit. I love Mexico, but I don't like playa because I don't like the beach. So that's all there is there, right? So that's not my place. So I think it's really important, just for people in general, whether you're living an expat life or whether you're living a life in the States or whatever you're doing, is to think about the environmental factors that you need to be at peace. I feel like that's one of the things that we often forsake in choosing places to live. Like, do you need to be close to the water? Does it need to be water that you can get into, right? Like for me, I love balconies because I like a breeze. It can be in the middle of the city. It can be on the side of a mountain. I don't care. I just want to be outside in the breeze, right? I like to be near water, but I'm not getting in it. So it can be a babbling brook, or it can be the ocean. Like, I don't care. I'm not getting in. I just want to hear it, right? So taking that time to really think about those environmental factors of what brings us peace and what that looks like. How often do you want to speak? How often do you want to interact? Do you want to have access to fresh food, or are you okay with ordering out all the time? Like, those are the things that'll help you find your place. And your place is not going to be everybody else's place. And that is absolutely okay. And it shouldn't be, because if we were all in the same place, we would all be on each other's nerves, right? So it's like really finding where that special place is for you to bring you your peace and being okay with that.
That is so beautiful. You guys never disappoint. I hope for us to have more conversations like this. Ali, maybe at one point we'll all reconvene and be on your channel and have a conversation. So yeah, for sure. So all of these ladies, all of their social media and information is going to be in the description box. Subscribe, y'all. Let's get me up there to my next goal. Get in the comments. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say right now. And I really enjoyed this conversation, and that is it for now. We will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.